Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, in the previous video, the one immediately prior to this video, I talked about the Sycamore Gap Tree being illegally and evilly felled by persons unknown, right by Hadrian's Wall, during Storm Agnes, or the remnants of Storm Agnes, up in Northumberland, and the huge outcry that it's caused. And I said in that video that I didn't believe the two people who'd been arrested, a 16-year-old boy, I didn't believe that, released on police bail, and a 69-year-old man, an ex-lumberjack no less, who the finger was pointed at by everybody, it seemed, who was arrested and then released on police bail. Now the old guy, whose name is, refer to my notes, Walter Renwick, has been quite outspoken, and he's talked to all the media and said categorically and vehemently, I did not do this. I didn't. I love that tree. It's an iconic tree. You're pointing the finger at me because I'm an ex-lumberjack and I've got chainsaws. And he has, no pun intended, an axe to grind. Why? Because he was thrown out of his house, basically, somewhere in the environs there, by the people who own the rights to the land. So he was a tenant and these were the landlords. Who were those landlords? The Jesuits of Britain. Yeah, I was like that. What? Shouldn't they be out trying to save the possessed souls of Tory ministers? Just saying. But yeah, the Jesuits of Britain apparently own big chunks of land and can chuck people off. Aren't they meant to be like, for the people? Anyway, because obviously he's got a bit of a grievance, people in the neighbourhood were saying like, well, it must be him because he's got the reason to do so, the motive. But Columbo wouldn't fall for this. Miss Marple wouldn't fall for this. It's too damn obvious. So I'm not having it. Again, like I said in the previous video, I don't believe a word of this. Sadly, I did say something else as well. That two things. If there's some sort of weird agenda going on, your mind works overtime on these things. When there's no logical explanation, will we lose more trees? Is this defacing historical monuments, albeit from the natural world? Like we're seeing statues being demolished and defaced and vandalised all the time. And then officially being removed and taken down because, they speak of the past, which we shouldn't talk of now because the past is actually wrong. Because they're rewriting the past. So to avoid anyone being offended with their delicate sensibilities and all that shit. Well, I also said that I dread to think, would there be copycat crimes? Would other people then think, well, okay, there's that big tree down Mr. Leatherbarrow's farm, let's take that down. There's this, let's take that down. Let's take this privet hedge down. And all in the name of anarchy. Well, another tree has been taken down. Apparently it was 2 days ago, but I only heard about it this morning because, as usual, I woke up to a barrage of messages from people all over the globe. I always do. I'm not trying to say, because everyone talks to Kilt-Man. Everyone does talk to Kilt-Man. They do, seemingly, and their dog. And sometimes their wives as well. But that's the story. And I was notified about another tree which has been felled, possibly illegally, certainly immorally. And this is down in Sussex. And it is a famous tree. And it's a 40-foot tall yew tree. And it's at the site of the Battle of Hastings. It's at a place called just off Uckham Lane in Battle. So named Battle because of the Battle of Hastings. And it's a mile from Senlac Hill. Senlac Hill is the place where historians reckon the actual battle took place. The Battle of Hastings, 1066. This is when William of Normandy come over with his Norman invasion and took on King Harold. Who apparently, according to legend and myth and folklore, took an arrow in the eye, but died gallantly. Historians differ on that now, because there is also credible evidence and text written down in these sort of pre-medieval times of him being lanced through and then dismembered by the Normans, including William of Normandy, who got in on the act as well. So there's been a bit of controversy over that. People also say that actually maybe they both happened. He took the wound, the arrow wound to the head, maybe the eye, hit the deck off his horse, and then he was set upon and mutilated. So probably very true. You see all this in the Bayeux Tapestry as well. So anyway, that's the site of it. This was a 40-foot yew tree, and it's over 1,000 years old. It actually predates the Battle of Hastings by a good chunk. And it's not far from another tree, another famous yew tree, which is not about a mile away in a church grounds, which is, it's got a famous name, which of course I've conveniently forgotten and didn't write down. But that's a famous tree. There was a very famous hedgerow, which was over 1,000 years old. That other tree, by the way, is 1,300 years old. This one was 1,000 years old. And there was a hedgerow in the same area, which was destroyed some years ago. And that was like of historical relevance. And, you know, there should be protection orders on these things. Trees especially have protection orders on them. Now, right, this tree, it's on private land. So the council, who've been asked what the hell happened here, have declined to comment. They've said, well, we can't make any comment on this because it's privately owned land. It's privately owned land that everyone can walk across. Don't quite understand that. It's privately owned, but I suppose, you know, they open up to the public because you own it, you can do what you want with it. But it is privately owned land. Now, it was local people that found this tree 2 days ago. As I say, 40-foot tree. It has not been felled by chainsaw or by axe. This is uprooted. It's completely uprooted. You'll see on the thumbnail picture, it's completely come out the ground with all its roots. There it is, bingo. Now, I've heard conflicting reports on this as well. See, I got told about this, and then of course, being a duly diligent researcher, under the influence, I did do a lot of, well, I tried to find all newspaper reports and whatever, you know, about this. And there's a fair bit. They tend to have cribbed off each other, though, the same thing. But I did see that some people said the tree had come down and been dragged away across the field. But I don't know if that's true, because some of the reports didn't mention it being dragged away. So I don't know. Now, oh, by the way, cheers, y'all. Now, at first I thought, oh my God, I was right. Copycats, or there is some kind of agenda going on. But the more I looked into it, the more I thought, well, hang on a minute. Trees do fall over, and they do. You ever heard a tree fall? A big tree. You're talking like, well, this was a 40-foot tree, but they go for a hell of a lot higher than that. And when a tree, it's overweight, the roots are knackered and rotted, and it just goes, it makes a sound like tree beard, the ent, belching. Because it's the most gargantuan and primordial sound. When you hear it, what a big tree go down, it's a terrifying, guttural sound. It comes from the bowels of the earth. And it does sound like death, like some huge behemoth has just gasped its last breath. So this tree's come down. But the roots are all there. Some people have said this has been done deliberately. How would you do that? Well, you just put a chain around it and just drive and pull the whole thing down. Which is why I thought at first, when people said it's been dragged across the field. So I thought, well, yeah, they've driven away. They dragged it down and dragged it away, and then uncoupled it, and then done a runner or a driver, you know. And but I can't find definite confirmation of this. So other people have said, well, no, the tree had. You can look at the root system, and the roots are rotted. So it could have just the roots gave way and the tree is toppled. Happens. There's conflicting reports about strong wind as well. That day, or those days, I can speak with great authenticity on strong wind. Sorry about that. It's the whiskey, you know. This morning here in Wallasey on the Wirral Peninsula, we have had absolutely ferocious rain all morning. It's sunny right now, but the wind is howling. I know you can't hear it right now, but it is. It's really gusty wind today. But you know, so trees and boughs do come down. But I don't know about this one. it does seem like it's come so soon after the Sycamore Gap Tree, which definitely is felonious and mysterious and just outright wrong. So I don't know, this could be natural, but one of the witnesses, the first person to report it, a dog walker, I haven't got his name. See, this is what you can walk past this tree. It's a historical area. It's a battlefield area. But you can walk across it, and there's archaeological digs there, and all sorts of things take place there. But this guy, he scattered his grandfather's ashes at the base of that tree. So as he said, I've got a deep personal connection with this tree, as do many other people from around here. Again, like the Sycamore Gap Tree, people in the neighbouring environs love these old trees. Now, there were many more, obviously, but over time, you've lost them. This one was 1,000 years old. The one just up the road in the churchyard is 1,300 years old. And you can, if a tree is uprooted, you can put them back in. You can, but you need some really highly specialised arboreal tree surgeons to do this. It's a very complicated procedure. A tree's a living thing, and they do give up and they do die, obviously, but yew trees in particular last a hell of a long time. In folklore, they're often known as being the immortal tree because they last seemingly forever. And they're also portents of doom as well. They are omens of destruction. Why? Because they're highly toxic as well. Did you know that? If you eat the fruit and the berries that come off a yew tree, even the leaves themselves, they're highly toxic. So in olden times, well, you always see yew trees are associated with churchyards. Well, there's a lot of reasons for that, but the main one really, practically, was because if you put, they used to, in Britain, the British Isles, they built churches in areas where yew trees were, because, and they have that would be part of their land. So the yew trees would be on their land. But to stop other people having their livestock, graze. I'm thinking of, it's not grouse, is it, Kilt-Man? It's High Commissioner. But I drink famous grouse. Any excuse, eh? But letting their livestock graze on church lands, if there's a yew tree there, no one's going to put their livestock there, simple as, because it's toxic to them and to us as well. But they also believed, this is the kind of weird dichotomy, the duality of the yew tree history, because people believe they were great, they were immortality, and churches use them, so they must be great, but also they're portents of doom and gloom. But they also, when people died of the plague, they'd be buried by yew trees because they believed that yew trees, despite their toxicity, would purify the dead bodies, thereby eliminating the plague. Strange, there's a yin and a yang, isn't there? For every belief in one side of something, there's the opposite belief as well. The good, the bad, the yin, the yang. It's bizarre. Yew trees, of course, were also famous for making the English longbow, of which I have one, as you guys well know. And I did a massive video on that. And I think you saw me shooting arrows from it as well. I destroyed our shed completely. You haven't seen a follow-on video because at the moment, I have nothing to shoot at because I've destroyed all the viable targets within our land. So, screwed it up there, didn't I, somewhat? But, and the irony there is that during many centuries of combat using, archery and the highly recognised prowess of the English bowmen, longbowmen, different from the Welsh longbowmen, and not just in accent, because the Welsh longbow they make it out of anything, very crude, very ugly sort of bows they were, but they were very strong, very sturdy. But the English longbow was made out of the yew tree wood, and although we had plenty of yew trees in Britain, we didn't get them from here. We got them from all over Europe, and we'd ship them over. We'd trade, so we were buying tons and tons and tons of yew tree wood to make our own bows. of which we became highly, famous worldwide for being the best in the business. I know the Welsh would argue with that, but anyway, it is true. And so yew trees are a huge, highly connected to civilization, to society, to military use, to churches, to just folklore and part of the community. So to lose a tree like this is again another bad thing. Now, the Sycamore Gap Tree, that was deliberate without any shadow of a doubt. It was chainsawed down. The chalk mark is still there on the stump of the tree where they brought it through. I've since heard as well, because I was going on about, like, it was in the middle of a storm and it was in the middle of the night, it would be pitch black. And I've heard since that people are saying, oh, no, the moon was very bright that night. Again, I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But I was saying, you'd have to go up in the middle of the night and cut this tree down. You'd have to have lights to see what the hell you were doing. You'd have to. In the wilderness, it's when there's no street lighting and the stars are covered, it's completely pitch black. You can't see a fucking thing. So you'd need torches, you'd need flares, you'd need lights. And that would be seen, but nothing was seen, of course. And they've since said that the cut on the Sycamore Gap Tree, which is a sycamore tree, was absolutely highly skilled. So again, my arguments about the 16-year-old, the 69-year-old, although he was an expert, but he's 69 years old with 2 leaky heart valves. No, just no. And of course, he's most vehemently denied it. I've not heard anything about the kid that got arrested, so I don't know about that. Don't know what he said. Presumably, I didn't do it. But that is a different case altogether. This one, I think, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, because of the high news about and the outrage about the Sycamore Gap Tree by Hadrian's Wall. This has happened, and well, another one's been brought down, and we're up in arms about it. So it might be something, it might not be, but it is intriguing at the same time that the council have declined to make any comments about it. But what about the actual landowner? If we can't comment because it's on private land. Well, the person who owns that land, I've not seen any quote from him. The dog walker in question, when he scattered his grandfather's ashes there, he did say that the farmer there has been cutting back trees. Well, that's cutting back trees. That's not the same as a tree being uprooted. That's a different thing entirely. If he's cutting them down or thinning them out or taking certain levels out of the height of a tree, yeah. Well, that's you've got to do it for the sake of his land. If they're dangerous trees, they're going to drop anyway. He's going to do it unless there's a protection order on them, which many trees in the UK have a tree protection order, and you can't touch them. Simple as, unless they do become a huge danger, in which case the tree protection people will get the appropriate people to come in and do it for you. They won't let you do it. It's got to be in a ritualistic manner, with sacrifices and all sorts of things. But I don't know about this one, folks. I don't know. It does seem to follow hot on the heels of, the Sycamore Gap. So, I don't know. I'd absolutely hate to think that this became some kind of weird trend. I said a lot in that previous video, and, and I think that I do smell rats about that one. This one, I don't know. I think people have leapt on this because it's happened so quickly after the other one, but it was a well-loved tree. A lot of people, so you got half the community who were really angry about it, and half who were saying, well, the roots looked rotten anyway, so it was going to fall over. Having rotten roots, by the way, doesn't necessarily mean that a bloody 40-foot tree is going to fall over. Doesn't mean that at all. It might wither. It might just begin to start looking a bit shaky, but the evidence would be there for a long time. It takes I'm speaking in Ent speak from Lord of the Rings. It takes a long time for trees to grow and die. So when they get diseased, evidence will be there. And the tree's not going to go anywhere unless a bolt of bloody lightning hits it and cleaves it in two, which happens, of course. That's not happened here. They said there was strong wind. There was no storms, no lightning. No, it wasn't like a thunderstorm or not like that. And there's clearly no evidence that it's been burnt or frazzled anywhere. It's either toppled, which again, I think there would be evidence way before it. And if this dog walk, had other people who've commented on it and been outraged by it, they would have seen this. They'd have seen that this tree was obviously, not too well and is in danger of maybe falling over. The evidence is there. They don't just arbitrarily fall over, So I think the evidence would have been there quite apparently to anybody with eyes. And especially if you love that tree, you're going to spot, oh, it's not looking too good, is it? Oh, it's all withered now. Oh, look at all this. Oh, the bark's just coming away and oh, it's just not right. You'd know. So if the farmer has just heaved this thing down, well, he's keeping quiet about it. Maybe in the shadow of Sycamore Gap Tree. Everyone's going to hate me for doing this. But then again, if it was the farmer himself who owns that land, he wouldn't do it right in the immediate aftermath of a public outcry and global uproar about a historic famous tree being felled. You wouldn't go, oh, do you know what? Well, maybe now's the time to take that bloody tree down. No, you wouldn't, would you? So again, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But everyone who's got on to me this morning, I do find it intriguing. And I was on it like a hawk. I was like, my God, it's happened. Another one's come down. I'll tell you what though, if another one comes down and makes news, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I know I'm smiling and I make it sound like I'm making some kind of mirth out of this. I really am not, because the loss of anything, especially from the natural world, which doesn't harm anybody. Well, okay, yew trees are toxic, but they don't mean to be. They don't mean to poison people and animals, do they? It's just something that grows within them, this toxicity. I'm sure it doesn't want to hurt anybody. Cheers to all the yew trees out there who've done nobody any harm. So anyway, folks, the news is a bit sketchier on this one. Probably because I think maybe, again, just in the aftermath of the bigger news, oh, another tree's gone down. So people have gone uproar and they've got in touch with certain newspapers and certain news media outlets, platforms. So the news got out that way. Otherwise, you'd never have heard of this, would you? You wouldn't have heard of it at all. But if another one comes down, and then another one, God, I hope not. See, the danger is that now, if this, and I'm guilty of this now, because I'm putting it out there. A lot of you people would not have known about this without me talking about it. So, you've got that. But if other trees come down, I would put some of it down to copycat stuff. Although it's not that easy. You've got to know what the hell you're doing. And I think if a gang of, knobheads decided to go and destroy a tree, they wouldn't have a clue what they were doing. They might set fire to it. They might, get their little pen knives out, or their zombie knives, and try to hack through it. Or they'll all be swinging off it like, get 10 of them on the top branches, let's pull it down. You might get that sort of thing, but that would be obvious, and it would be a bit more. They're not out in the countryside, not usually. So if more historically relevant trees come down, then I think that there might be argument for some sort of hidden agenda. I don't know. I know. Listen to me. There's a hidden agenda to take out historic trees. Trust me, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened in this country and in your country. Wherever you are in the world, stuff happens and governments do it. But you'll never find out that they had any part in it, and you'll never really know the reasons why they did it. As I've said, I took part in many tasks in my military service with the most ridiculous of outcomes, and you never knew why you were doing it. And you weren't meant to ask why. So I know from from fact and experience about the stupidity and the bizarreness of certain deeds which are undertaken by, personnel working to some plot, plan, scheme from someone much higher up. It beggars belief, and I am not going to go into any of that, so don't even think about asking me. I can't, and I won't. But stranger things than just felling trees. So this is why I can think that I can imagine sort of like a black ops, mission to desecrate and cause anxiety and unrest. And I don't know. I was going on about the North-South divide in the previous video as well. Oh, because the HS2, well, Sunak, little Rishi's going to unleash the biggest, most obvious secret the Tories have had in recent times, that, yeah, we're not going to take the HS2 high-speed train line from Birmingham to Manchester. We're not going to do that. No, so we're not levelling up with the North at all. Yeah, well, what a fucking surprise. So, the bizarrity of things, and I was going to say, sorry, if all trees of historical relevance were taken down in the north of England, but this is in Sussex, so can't blame it on that. Anyway, folks, I have been over Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, in this ever bizarrely arboreal in-between time, please keep it Kiltic, keep it Celtic, keep having a snifter of your favourite whenever you can. It's all you've got left. There is more videos to come today, because we have unboxings aplenty, right? From Captain Ronnie over on the Emerald Isle, we have, almost showed the address there of the Kilt Mansion. We have this, and we also have, this. He sent two things. So we'll be opening them, and there's also another package coming from our good friend, of course, Steve 007 Smith, the guy that sends these things, these fabulous movie canvases, and it's another movie canvas coming today, in the next couple of hours, I presume. So, we've got lots of unboxings, lots of cardboard, lots of gaffer tape, lots of, I don't know, all sorts of packaging and shielding and stuff to hack through. Anyway, folks, that's all coming next. So please, just take care of yourselves and look after the trees and the bees. Because without them, there's no us. So there you go. If I hear any more stuff like this, I will report on it. But this one, I genuinely think, well, I'm in two minds about it. Oh, it's deliberate. Oh, no, it could have fallen over. But as I said before, if it fell over, I think evidence of it being diseased would have been manifest anyway. They'd have known. And if the wind was that strong, then they would all have been talking about, the really strong winds. And the news report would have been ancient Battle of Hastings tree brought down in storm. Just saying. Anyway. Let's see you all later.